If you're the type of person that struggles with losing weight or to getting fit, sometimes you just need a little nudge, and a smartwatch can do just that. If that's you, you got to stay tuned for this review. Hi everybody, it's Andy Barrar, aka Handy Andy, your DIY tech guy from handyandymedia.com. Today I'm doing a review for Best Buy's blog on two smartwatches from Garmin, the Vivoactive 4 and the Venue. Now, of course, these are smartwatches, so they're going to give you notifications from your smartphone, but these do way more. Because if you're the type of person that likes to collect fitness data, whether it's your heart rate, whether it's your sleep, or your steps, you are going to love this watch because it is like activity tracker on steroids. So let's begin this review by taking a look at the design of the Vivoactive 4 and the Venue. Now, both of these watches, the Vivoactive 4 and the Venue, look like traditional watches with their rounded design. This is in far contrast to, say, the Apple Watch. And I actually prefer this because when it's on your wrist, it just looks like a traditional watch. But like I said, this can do way, way more. Now, in terms of the size, the Vivoactive 4 has a 33 millimeter display, touch color display, and the Venue has about 30 millimeters, so just slightly smaller. Both of them have Gorilla Glass 3 protection on the front. Now, while these watches do look similar, there are a couple of design differences, and that mainly has to do with the bezel. The Vivoactive 4 has a stainless steel bezel across the front, whereas the Venue has this reinforced polymer with a metal finish. So it does look like metal, but it's not. And I think for most people, it's not going to matter. What's really interesting is the Vivoactive 4 is actually the more expensive of the two, but the display is 260 by 260 resolution. Now, on the Venue, which is slightly cheaper, this display resolution is 390 by 390 using an AMOLED display. So it's actually brighter, clearer, and it actually looks like it's the more expensive of the two. But there is a big difference because the Vivoactive 4 has what is an always-on display. So when you're walking around, you want to look at, for the time, you can just flip your wrist and take a look, and you should be able to see it. It even displays in sunlight. Now, the Venue, by default, does not turn on, but you can set it to be always on. And I think the reason they did that was because the battery life would severely diminish because of the higher screen resolution and colors. It doesn't have the same battery life as the Vivoactive 4. So that's probably why the Vivoactive 4 is more expensive, because it has what they say in smartwatch mode about 8 days of battery life, whereas the Venue does not do that as long. But we'll talk a little bit about the battery a little bit later. Now that we've taken a quick look at the design, let's go ahead and talk about the fitness features in both of these smartwatches. Like I mentioned, these are primarily fitness smartwatches because they are activity trackers on steroids. You can do just about everything. Like, I'm a data guy. I love collecting data, and this is really geared towards someone like me because not only can you track your steps, you can track your heart rate, you can track your sleep, not only the quality of your sleep, but the entire duration of your sleep. Heck, you could even track your hydration. Now, of course, it doesn't know when you're drinking, but in the app, you can actually log in every time you have, say, a glass of water or some juice to really track your hydration levels. For women, you could even track your menstrual cycles in here. So, like I said, this is a fitness tracker, but it can do so much more. Now, there's a couple of interesting additional features that they have. One is called Body Battery, and this is really to see your body's energy levels throughout the day. They also have something called Pulse OX sensor, and that basically shows how well your body is absorbing oxygen. Another interesting thing they have, which I can't really figure out how they're getting this data, but it's a stress tracker. So it can kind of gauge when you're stressed throughout the day and when you're not. And it can really prompt you. It can even prompt you to do short breathing exercises. Like, do we really need a watch to tell us if we're stressed? I know when I'm stressed, but apparently they can do this. I haven't really figured out the science on how they did that. Both watches actually feature built-in sports apps. So whether it's running, whether you're on a treadmill or you're doing yoga, even golf, the one app, unfortunately for me, that they don't have is Jump Rope. Because if you know me, you know that during the coronavirus and when they had the lockdown, I learned to jump rope, and it's now an obsession of mine. And I'm just looking for an activity tracker that can track my jump ropes. Unfortunately, this doesn't have that built in. Apparently, if you go and look, you can find third-party apps that will allow that. I have yet to try that, but it is something I'm looking to. I just wish it was built in. But I'm telling you, they got yoga inside here. Strength training as well. If you're strength training, you can go inside there and program your entire workouts and then track each set and each rep inside your watch, which is really cool. Now, if there are exercises that you forgot or you don't know how to do the proper technique, they actually have animations built in there that will show you the proper movements for doing exercises. So you really have no excuse to build a resistance training workout with the Garmin smartwatches here, the Vivoactive 4 and Venu. The runners are going to love the fact that you can actually put songs preloaded on here so you don't have to take your phone when you're going out for a run. This is also GPS is built in, so you can track your runs as well. This, I would say, just from the get-go, even though I'll say this in my final review, but really geared towards runners. You know, if you're a runner or you take a lot of steps, you're going to really like these smartwatches because they just work so nicely for doing that. Jump rope guys like me, maybe not. There is a cardio sports app that just tracks your heart rate. So that's what I was using when I was jump roping and using these watches, because I was trying to track my heart rate and just like the intensity levels while I was jumping. I want to make sure it stays high and that I don't take too many breaks. And with these watches, you know, you can do that using the pre-built cardio app, which is kind of more of a generic one. But they even have ones, I think, for using the elliptical or a row machine as well. So a lot of built-in apps. Whatever you're into, you'll probably find it inside of the Garmin smartwatch. Now, in terms of battery life, the Vivoactive 4 has 8 days of battery life in smartwatch mode, which is pretty long. When you think about when smartwatches first came on, I remember I used to have to charge them every night. That was one of the things I didn't like about them, but it looks like they solved that battery problem. With the Venu, you're going to get about 5 days of battery life. And again, that's because of the screen. It's brighter. And I think that's why the battery life is not as long. Now, it said smartwatch mode, okay? If you're going to start tracking like your heart rate or the Pulse OX, which is what tracks how well you're using oxygen, that is significantly going to decrease the battery life. So you have to be wary when the manufacturers say, oh, you got 8-day battery life on smartwatch mode. Well, then you have the next question is, what is smartwatch mode? And that probably means it's not doing, you know, tracking all it can do. It's basically on its most basic functions of getting notifications and whatnot. Yeah, you can get about a week, 8 days with the Vivoactive 4 and about 5 days with the Venu. I think another feature outside of the fitness that a lot of people are going to really like and gravitate towards these watches is sleep tracking, because we could all sleep better. And a lot of people aren't sleeping enough. And sometimes you need a nudge. You need a nudge to tell you that, hey, I have empirical data showing that I am not getting enough sleep. So that might help you go to bed earlier, or, you know, not stay up late watching Netflix. So the sleep tracking is really, really interesting, because not only does it track the duration of your sleep, like when you went to bed and when you got up, but the quality of your sleep as well. So they break it up into different zones, whether it's light sleep, deep sleep, REM. You can see the breakdown each night of your sleep. You can see the tally of it on weeks and months. So for anybody, you know, just the sleep tracking alone makes this a great feature. But then you include steps, heart rate, it becomes a Swiss Army knife of a smartwatch when you think about it, and all the features that come with it. Now, both of these watches, all the data that it's collecting goes inside your smartphone in the Garmin Connect app, which is of course available on iOS and Android. So I've been wearing these watches for about a week, 2 weeks. I actually asked for an extended period for this review just so I could collect more data, because when I first had it, it was getting me some weird data and I just wanted more data to collect it. So I've been wearing the vivoactive 4. The Venu, they're both, I didn't want to have to wear both watches at the same time. They do the same thing. So rather than walking around with 2 watches, I just wore one predominantly to collect that data, and that was the vivoactive 4. And here's what I can tell you. I am somebody who absolutely loves data. I track my heart rate all the time. Steps, I know I'm active. I'm just really looking for heart rate and staying in a certain heart rate zone when I'm working out. So I love data. I love sleep data. I just really appreciate the fact that you can get all that data in a smartwatch and you don't have to wear multiple devices. However, and this is a big however, I was really getting inconsistent data. The heart rate in particular, and this is why I actually asked for an extended period on this, because there was one day where I was walking home from the gym and I was like, oh, I wonder what my heart rate is. And I look and it says 160. It was not 160, okay? Trust me. I know what 160 beats per minute feels like. And that's me running like maybe 10 minutes straight nonstop at around 6 miles per hour to get at 160. So that kind of let me, I was like, what is going on? Then the next day, same thing, coming back, I'm like, oh, let me check. And then it's like 95, 100, which is where it should be. So one day it was kind of like way off, and then it was like super accurate. So I was getting like inconsistent things about the heart rate. And you know what that means is if you're getting data and it's inconsistent, you're essentially getting what they call dirty data. Now, this is not the kind of dirty data you want. I'm telling you, you want really consistent heart rate if you're going to be tracking your progress over time. And, I was just suspect. You have to take it with a grain of salt, because you can't just go by the data. You have to go how you're feeling. You should know what 140 beats per minute feels like, like, can you still talk? Are you out of breath? And then you look at your watch and try to match it, because sometimes you're going to find that it's off. And that happened to me. And that was like the big sticking point. And I couldn't figure it out. I even wore it longer. And then I'm like, oh, no, now it's working. Maybe it just needed to understand me. And then all of a sudden, it would go back and give me some crazy numbers. So I didn't want to talk about this unless I could figure it out. And you know what? I couldn't figure out why I'm getting inconsistent data like that here and there. Otherwise, for the majority of the time, I do think it's accurate. Now, I really liked and appreciated the sleep tracking. I thought that was really interesting metrics, especially the breathing, how much I was breathing at nighttime, because I have asthma and I usually get asthma at nighttime. I have to keep an inhaler at bedside just in case I get asthma in the middle of the night and then I hit it. Sometimes I'm half asleep. I don't even know if I was using my inhaler. But that breathing metric I thought was very, very interesting. I think it does a really good job on tracking sleep. Now, there are a couple of things that I had issues with and that I want you to know in case you're thinking about buying these. There's really 2 ways to use the smartwatches from Garmin, the vivoactive 4 and the Venu. You can just let it collect data about you as you go about your day. It's tracking your steps, it's tracking your heart rate and whatnot. The other way is when you're actively involved. So if you set up your workouts and you're like, all right, I'm going to go do chest day, and you program incline, bench press, and flies, which is what I was trying to do. My problem was I kept forgetting to enter data. Even if I was doing cardio, I was doing jump rope and I'm start jumping rope and I'm, in the zone, and then I stop and go inside, and guess what? I forgot to stop the workout. So that just happened to me all the time. If you are going to buy these smartwatches, you have to change your behavior. You have to really get used to doing a set, say on the bench press, grabbing your watch while you're resting, entering that data, stopping, resting, like really, like it's a different way of training. And what I found for a week and a half is I'm like an old dog. You can't teach me new tricks. Like I just could not get it. So many times I'd be on a walk and then I'm like, okay, I get home and I forgot to stop it. So I'm having breakfast and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's still tracking. So it's driving me nuts. That is the one thing I want you to know, okay? If there's one takeaway, one nugget of truth, if you're going to get this, you really got to get your mind right on tracking and making sure you stop your watch or stop and start your exercises. If there was one thing I could love if they could like integrate is some kind of AI where it's like, oh, you're working out. All right, we're going to start tracking. And then it's like, oh, it looks like you stopped. Okay, we're going to stop it for you. If they could do that, man, I'd be all in on this. But of course, they're not going to be able to tell you like if you're doing squats or bench press. But just track with the heart rate and the movements to know that this person is, they stopped working out. Give us a nudge. Hey, did you stop working out? Oh, yeah, I did. And then you can stop it. Something like that, man. They got to put that in for people like me who just seem to like mind wander. And then I forget that I'm trying to track everything on a smartwatch. Other than that, the data that it collects, if you love to capture metrics, say you want to challenge your friends and, there's a whole social element. I didn't even talk about really about this, but if you're a data person, you're going to love these two smartwatches because it gives you so much data and you can track it. And I actually enjoy waking up every morning, having my cup of coffee and then grabbing the Garmin Connect app and then looking at my sleep. It's just like, it's a good habit to get into. Imagine we did that every single day. How interesting that would be. It would, you have a hard time not sleeping when you see evidence that you're not sleeping. It's like really hard. It creates that, what they call in psychology, cognitive dissonance. You want your beliefs and your behaviors to be consistent. And when you get data saying, yo, you ain't sleeping, homie, you're going to want to go to bed early and turn Netflix off or stop scrolling on Instagram. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review of the Garmin VivoActive 4 and Venue smartwatches from Garmin. These are two excellent smartwatches to track everything from your heart rate to your steps to your sleep to your breathing. Heck, you can even track your hydration and your menstrual cycles, ladies, if you really wanted to, all on this watch. If you have any questions for me, make sure you leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, please subscribe to this channel, and you can follow me and get more information about me at handyandymedia.com. Once again, my name is Andy Barrar, aka Handy Andy, your DIY tech guy from handyandymedia.com. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.